Smurf was teasing the Roadhog a little bit, and I'm like, well, not on the playoff patch yet. The Roadhog has been buffed up to some older levels, and it is just going to be this typical composition that's being played by almost every team these days. The dive with the Sombra. Teams will roll out. An's looking for a headshot or two. He's found the angle onto one player. He's just seeing if Edison will poke his head out. He can get a quick and easy one, but not going to be happening here. Troy Yeoman instantly demexed. Great dive from the Atlanta Reign, able to capitalize on that one. Now they're going to try and focus on this front line. The approach, big Bionade onto Violet, and he will fall. A bit of stray fire coming out. Instant resurrect, but too little too late. Smurf went down as well, which means the Atlanta Reign probably going to be able to get some capture progress now on this point.
Much earlier positioning coming out from Atlanta, but Ans with a beautifully replied headshot there onto Edison. That's going to create a bit of space, but Ans was getting dangerously far ahead of the rest of his team there. You don't want to be frontlining on the Ashe. Nevertheless, he's going to be back in and immediately picks off Massa too. Ans put it in production early on.
Now, the good news is for the Atlanta Reign is that so much damage has been chunked into them that Dogman has built up the nano boost already. But the trouble is, Ans, when he's on this high ground, it's brutal to play against. I mean, he's 10% away from the bomb, but still, Pokpo with the nano boost now. You can see that was the win condition. But in the Primal Rage here, when they've already got 2 picks, probably don't feel too confident in their ability to win this, given the fact that Smurf was causing all sorts of action in the back line, getting 2 kills for his team, but it will confirm the team fight win, at least for the Atlanta Reign.
Yeah, good play by them. It's nice to see Pokpo in the lineup as well. Obviously, more of the Winston player compared to Gator, but Pokpo hasn't played too much this season. We saw him recently, of course, playing against the Gladiators, but since then he's only come into the lineup a couple of times in the past number of weeks. San Francisco, though, huge amount of ults.
Interesting here that Violet is playing the Ana here for the San Francisco Shock. Typically, they've put in Twilight for that role itself, but sleep down onto Smurf. The nano boost is negated, but that's okay. Troy in the off angle, along with Ans, 2 quick headshots. That's magic right there. And with a player like Ans, you get what you paid for. A real superstar hit scan player. The Resurrect onto Pokpo will keep them into this fight, but for how much longer when Ans is hitting these little quick scope shots? Yep.
Looking like the Call of Duty league out here. Hitting quick scopes on people left, right, and center. And Sniper. Gonna join Fate.
Maybe. Yeah, so the Atlanta Reign, though, with 93% on their point, that's a fantastic opportunity for them now, because they are 1 team fight away from taking this first round away from the San Francisco Shock.
Oh, I mean, those shots are just filthy coming out from Ans. His Ashe has not been as good as his Widowmaker so far this season, but it's still really, really strong. And he can sometimes just turn a fight around with those kind of shots. Alright, hack into the back lines.
Yep, Saucy going to be connecting onto a couple of targets here. This needs to be a win for the San Francisco Shock, because if they end up losing this team fight, that is going to be the round. But it seems like the Atlanta Reign are struggling to focus down their targets. They don't quite know who to be directing a lot of the focus onto. Rascal going to be going back a little bit here, and they're still in control. Dive into the back line, the EMP, everything, the hack I should say, not coming through from Saucy, but Rascal will go down, and he was 90% to the EMP. Still trades now, and the San Francisco Shock in control of the point once again. Smurf at the tail end of that Primal Rage does get the kill there onto Dogman, but the instant resurrect to try and keep them back into this fight. This is precarious right now for the San Francisco Shock. 1 slip up, and they're just about creeping off the edge. EMP still committed. Rascal wants to try and take this fight, but they're struggling to get the kill. The bubble came out a little bit later. It didn't connect onto Pokpo, and they've turned this fight around. Still in control of the point. Moments away now. Smurf has to touch the point with his body. Hands with the damage boost from afar, might be able to get something done, but Edison sends out Bob, and that's going to be cleaning up a lot of the work in the back line, as Violet will go down. Very winnable scenario right here, Josh, for the Atlanta Reign.
Almost unlosable, actually. Saucy with the EMP, they get the kills, they finish people off. Atlanta looking like the better team on round 1. The San Francisco Shock not really that coordinated with how they were sending in Smurf and Rascal. Ans hit some beautiful shots, don't get me wrong, but just the tank line for the Shock and the way that Violet was playing alongside them, not quite as coordinated. And that's actually why I thought they would be tending more towards Lucio compositions, running Violet and Moth, because an Ana Mercy backline, Violet Moth doesn't really scream that to me. I mean, Violet has basically not played any Ana for the San Francisco Shock this entire season long. They had Architect playing that hero at the beginning because they weren't comfortable fielding Violet on Ana. And then Twilight obviously took over that role. So now as the Shock move over to kind of double flex support backline that's more to do with poke and a double shield front line, we'll see if the style of the Shock changes significantly. It certainly should.
Should be something that they are quite comfortable with, playing this kind of double shield, but we'll find out now. As you can see, the team is just vying for control of this center podium. Super important. Edison getting pressured in the backline, but his team is there to peel for him, and these shots need to be hit. So important to see the Widowmaker players pop off in these moments. And you can see Edison not too keen to take the direct confrontation against Ans, but it matters not, as it seems like the San Francisco Shock have a huge damage advantage, just rolling over them onto the point. Ans winning the Widowmaker 1v1 at the back end of it as well. Quick capture for the San Francisco Shock here early on, and they're going to be able to create a little bit of a foothold, a foundation to build upon this round.
Ans winning the Widowmaker head-to-head here. Let's take a look at the replay of Rascal, what he was able to do within the backlines. Just finishes off Poco, putting in a lot of consistent damage. Not really playing for hacks, just playing for damage behind the shields. Playing it a little more like a Tracer might, for example, but also building up that absolutely crucial EMP, of which he is about 15% away at the moment.
Ans at the off angle here. You can see the way Atlanta Reign are playing. They do not want to give anything up. Giving him a lot of respect here. And Smurf goes down. Big pressure, big damage being pumped into him with the Discord Orb. But Ans finds Edison, and that is going to mean that Ans has a lot more space to work with now. Doesn't need to worry about much. Dogman wants to try and take the fight to him, but Saucy goes down. And now Hawk's so low there. The Gravitic Flux almost ending his life, but finally Choi Hyobin will finish the job there. The Amp Matrix just helping, assisting with that one. And San Francisco Shock still in control at this point. The Atlanta Reign forced to regroup, rethink how they're going to be approaching this one.
Poor Ans, whenever we watch him, he's missing shots, but you can see in the kill feed that he must be hitting a bunch of them because he found two really important picks in the middle of that team fight too. He's definitely getting the better end over Edison, and he's got his info sight up already as well. That's going to make it pretty difficult for the Atlanta Reign to push in. Their Sombra can't be invisible, their Widowmaker can't take the angles, and a lot of spam damage coming onto them whenever they push. Oh, Pokpo. He's so weak. Pokpo's actually split from all the rest of his team as well here. I'm super confused actually as to what the Atlanta Reign are doing there.
The Supercharger goes down instantly as he tried to use it to initiate in, and he's so low. The Discord Orb's still on him. He will survive. His team have regrouped with him, but not before the Shock have decided to go for a bit of a pincer mover. As you can see, they're rotating around. Gravitic Flux comes through. What a accretion from Choi! Cancelling the Gravitic Flux. Not going to be happening, but the Atlanta Reign still finding the pickoffs necessary. Ans going down. Edison with 2 for him. Choi Hyobin, the last one standing on this point, eventually will fall. Rascal coming in right at the end, but he too will go down, and that means that the Atlanta Reign critically win that team fight.
Yeah, a big mistake in positioning, I think, at the beginning of that team fight. There seemed to be some communication issues there for Atlanta, but it wasn't really punished from the Shock. Ans had many opportunities to take those shots, but it wasn't quite able to get the picks when the opportunity was presented to him. Obviously, even though Ans is insanely good on the Widowmaker, he doesn't hit everything. That would be truly absurd.
Oh my goodness. Violet going for these ego duels against Edison off at the side. It's so ballsy, but he almost gets away with it still. The EMP coming through from Atlanta Reign means that Ans was just stuck against the wall once again, and now you're going to see a lot being utilized here. EMP clears the Amp Matrix, and now the Shock are just rolling over them once again. Hawk and Dogman going down, and that's no Transcendence. Dogman getting caught out from the hack. Couldn't use it. Still Pokpo alive. Fortify to cancel up that Gravitic Flux. It will not be affecting him, but it matters not to Choi Hyobin, because when he's in the sky, he's able to just put in that consistent damage, and he's going to get the 4K just to close out this round, evening it up.
Yeah, the EMP just wasn't quite there in terms of the coordination from Saucy and the Atlanta Reign. Saucy popped the EMP, caught a couple of people, but the rest of his team was miles away, so they were only able to convert on the kill onto Ans. And with Ans dead, sure, you're not going to have to worry about a Widowmaker getting picks on you, but the rest of the Shock can definitely still kill you. They don't actually rely on that Widowmaker for damage at any point during their neutral fights. So as soon as Shock saw an opportunity, they pop the Transcendence, which allows them to run in, pop the EMP, which obviously gives them a massive advantage in that fight, and they come out with a victory. What a difference from round 1 to round 2 in terms of the Shock's performance, though, in terms of their coordination. And now we see Moth on the Lucio, so Shock going for a bit more of a brawly rush kind of double shield composition with Anson Rascal on the Mccree and the Junkrat. This is some new wave stuff.
It's so close quarters as well when you're running the Mccree and the Junkrat just to pump in that damage. I said it the other day, but you're just emitting this aura of death. If you come within their radius of the San Francisco Shock's death ball here, you're probably going to be in trouble. But the Atlanta Reign are trying to build up this nano boost as fast as possible. Big Bionade onto Violet forces out the Immortality field. But an off angle now being taken by Ans. He's hunting for targets. It's 1 or 2. Now he has noticed that, yep, Dogman out of position. What a flick. Quick little shot.
People, by the way, still talk about Ants as if he's a Widowmaker one trick, and he absolutely isn't. They forget that his Mccree earlier on in the season was putting Striker on the bench. You've got to be insane in terms of your raw aim to put Striker on the bench, and he doesn't overextend. He doesn't make too many positioning mistakes like you might expect of a rookie. He is just nutty when it comes to these hit scan picks. He's impressed me so much with the range of heroes that he's been able to play, and it continues here. Oh. All right, that was a bit of an overextension. The whole of his team was with him, and he just wandered slightly out of his immortality field range.
Yeah, he was just trying to... Well, I think they may have just bursted that one down, or he walked out of the line of sight of it. Either way, Ans will go down, but the Shock still want to fight. The Matrix to try and force them back. Popo gets hacked up, which means he can't leap out. Falling down to 300 health, has to go back to the safety of his team, and he's going to get healed up, but that's an Nana boost committed as well. The Shock may choose to recontest this one with the Supercharger, and they do. Straight away, the shield comes through as well, and Ans, when he's got that provided, what is he doing in the backline? It doesn't even matter. Both the supports are down for the Atlanta Reign. And even if Edison hits these shots, I mean, how is he going to be able to turn that one? Flanking Mccree gameplay, a man after my own heart.
Yeah, the flank of the Mccree at the same time as Smurf put down a Supercharger as well. You don't expect the Mccree to not be playing with the Supercharger. When you have that kind of damage advantage, why would the Mccree be flanking? Well, it totally caught the Atlanta Reign off guard, so a really smart decision here. Saucy has to disengage EMP onto all of the rest of his team. No follow-up, really? And we'll see whether they can peel apart the Saucy EMP. Doesn't look good for them.
Yep. Ans got caught out of position there, and a big Bionade onto Smurf meant that he was easy pickings. Troy, not hacked up actually. Oh, is he? Yeah, no, he's not hacked up whatsoever. A bit hard to read on the clean slate UI, but you can see that the Atlanta Reign are getting the best out of this situation now with the recap. Not able to get that. What a shield placement from Smurf to block that actually. Yeah, that's fantastic there to save Rascal's life when he got slept up.
That might seem like a small thing, but that allows them to push maybe 10 seconds earlier than they otherwise would have been able to. Look at Choi Oben as well, over on the flank there. As the Sigma, just going to be able to do so much consistent damage in from behind. Oh, worried about getting hacked.
Oh, he's trying to break the line of sight of the hack with his shield. Oh, he was so close to doing that, but a risky situation to be in, and the risk does not pay off. Huge Bionade again from Dogman means that Moth was not able to get healed up there and gets caught out of position. The Atlanta Reign holding on as well with the res onto Edison. Not going to be holding with a disadvantage with any players.
EMP could be huge here for Atlanta. It could be the momentum changer that they need to take them into an even kind of situation. Great EMP, Bionade as well, catches on to Smurf. They need to finish somebody though. They need to kill Violet or Moth. Now they've waited too long and the
focus fire. The focus fire is not there. Edison's getting pocketed in the corner. He's trying to take this 1v1. Bob getting committed. Violet trying to get that kill. He wasn't able to do it. And the Shocker just jumping into the backline, feeding relentlessly.
They've been able to do it though. They've come out with the victory in that team fight, thankfully. And that was looking dangerous there for the Atlanta Reign, because the follow-up wasn't there on the EMP. They still had to commit a bunch of other ultimates on top of that. The Bob, the Primal Rage. I think a self-destruct maybe got committed there as well. I'm not sure, maybe the previous fight, but it seemed like a heavy commitment. And now the Shock have all the pieces necessary, if they can touch the point, to be able to get back into this one.
Yep, Smurf lays down the Supercharger. This is it now. Has to be here when a Shock make their stand. EMP connects onto 3 players and already brought down Pokpo. Can they deny? The Resurrect coming through. Massa does manage to get it off though, but the D-Mech is already on to Hawk. And Massa falls suit. looking like a disaster right now for the Atlanta Reign. Not able to really even start to put pressure onto this point. Pogpo, one man standing. Will it be enough with the Immortality Field? Cannot burst through the backline of the Shock, and the Shock with the beautiful recontest. Using the ultimates in the right order, the Atlanta Reign unable to hold up for the aggression that the Shock were putting out. And with that final D-Mech and D-Suit, it will mean that the San Francisco Shock are going to be walking away with map number 1, but my goodness, Josh, how close was that series, or that map? They love to play this kind of rush brawl comp right at the gates. Now the Shock should know this because, well, they should have watched the series that actually took place. Should have a good answer for it. We'll see if they're able to take a kill or two. Look at Gator just smushing his face against the spawn door. Smurf,
Ants should be able to flank here though. Ants should be free to flank and just get pot shots from behind. I have no idea where he's positioned at the moment. He is, yeah, he's on a wide flank. So if Ants has the ability to hit these shots, oh, what a shot.
Yep, that's the early Earth Shatter getting built up there from all of that damage that Gator's able to push through this choke point. Falling very, very low though. It's the trouble. You can take a lot of damage without realizing it. Ants falls though in the Coalescence. Gator trying to keep him up, but Gator. Okay, he goes down. Was that a charge attempt from him?
Yeah, he charged into an Ant Matrix because I think he just assumed he was going to die anyway because his shield was really weak. But I think he could have played line of sight there a little more effectively. I mean, it's a composition designed to just hold the front gates, hold the spawn for as long as you can. You're not intended to win the map based off of it. I mean, that was a bit weird there.
Well, I'll tell you, Josh, the other day, the Atlanta Reign stayed on this comp for the entirety of it. Even after this first point hold last time.
Yes.
And this was one of my biggest criticisms of the Atlanta Reign when they were playing this composition, is that they were so stuck in their ways. But the trouble is, it doesn't do too well when you lose that initial one. What a shot. He is just an absolute freak of nature, isn't he? My God.
Yeah.
That raw aim is unbelievable. The supercharger from Smurf will be laid down onto the car, but he's actually split up a little bit here by the shield. His team are behind it, and that means the supercharger will go down easily enough. And they're out of position. Rabbinic Flux, though, sends a couple flying, a couple back down again. Gator with the next one to die. Violet using that Transcendence, keeping his team up. Smurf walled away. Fortify just comes up, but too late as he will go down. And the Immortality Field on top of the Blizzard here. It's a scrappy fight, but it seems like the Atlanta Reign are the ones who are coming out on top.
That Symmetra barrier was a game changer, I think. Dogman getting into the backlines. You've got to be worried!
What?
You can't disrespect Ants like that. And now Atlanta Reign are down their main healer. And Smurf's going to get a much faster spawn. Dogman swaps over to the Batiste, so it's not too bad, I suppose. Of course, intentional. Of course.
Of course, yes.
But,
yeah, that Symmetra barrier just splitting off the line of sight of the supercharger.
Yes, and also making it so that Gator could play really aggressive in the front lines, even though Hawk was having to pressure Ants. So it just provided Gator all of this safe space to play.
Ants getting pressured in behind, and he's not being helped as well. The teleporter into the backline meant that they can just run him down. But look at this, the cards just slowly move. Are they really going to win this with 3 on the card? Gator forced the charge in because they were about to win the game, or win this first checkpoint, I should say, taking it away from them. Another barrier built up, the Shock so close. Probably felt like they could bait Ants a little bit. Oh, I don't like that Transcendence from Violet. Right down the middle of the Symmetra shield means that half this healing is probably going to be blocked up. But Ants is back in the fight, and he does get a kill. He gets a second one. The supports are down. It's always winnable when Ants is on the field. Another headshot. You got to be joking. This guy, and what are you doing, Edison? You know the infra sight's up, but he just waddles into the line of sight.
That's a spectacular individual performance from Ants. That's the thing about the San Francisco Shock as well. Even if you manage to beat them in terms of you have better team play than them, you use your ultimates better, the Shock's individual players sometimes can just clutch it as well. The Atlanta Reign didn't really do too much wrong there. Maybe Dogman and Massa was slightly off some of their shields. We don't know because we didn't really see it on the screen. But Ants just hit the shots, man. There's nothing you can do when the guy's playing at this kind of level. The composition, it's very hard for them to shut down the Widowmaker. That's a lot of what Hawk is doing in his team fights. But Ants, he just continues to deliver.
I mean, how is he getting value here? How is he getting value in this particular section of Havana, nevertheless? It is so close quarters, so many narrow, like, just U-bends here. You can see it's so hard to get the proper sight lines as a Widowmaker player, but he just makes it work anyway, and he opens it up for his team.
He does,
Absolutely absurd.
It's absurd the areas that he's able to get value from. Rascal over here on the Echo as well, one of our first adopters of that hero when it was released in 2020. He looked very good on it early on, and he continues to look pretty impressive as well. He's got that duplicate available. Could go for a Reinhardt. I would love to see a Rascal Shatter coming up soon.
Yeah, Supercharger means that the Atlanta Reign can't really play into this line of sight. They try and go for Ans again. Supercharger, or I should say Self-Destruct laid down. It's going to be the duplicate here onto the Reaper. I can respect it, you know, it's a reasonable pick against the competition. They're running, and there you go. Unleashed into Death Blossom. And the Hellfire shotguns, you know, they might be made out of pixels, but they still do the appropriate amount of damage. And as they try and jump on the Violet, taking these off angles, they will find it. They're just going to be meeting the end of his boot.
Yeah, really nice play there. Synced up with the Halt as well, of course, to just add the massive amounts of damage possible from that Death Blossom that Rascal generated in about 3 seconds because of the duplicate. And Atlanta Reign, they've been playing this composition all right, honestly. They haven't been playing too badly, but they're getting outplayed in terms of the individuals. They can't really shut down Ants too well. There's only Hawk, sorry, that can really do it. And he's working overtime because Ants, he's just hitting all these ridiculous shots. Not only do you have to outplay the San Francisco Shock, just in terms of a team, you have to also make sure that they can't clutch it out.
Edison going for the teleport, the nothing personal kid move. It works sometimes, but not when the team is completely on point. And now the Shock, yeah, they don't have much in the time bank to work with, but the way they're rolling this cart forward, and now that Ans has been given this line of sight, you can see the shield there to support him. This is such a difficult position to push out of. Yeah.
It really is. And this is where the Atlanta Reign's composition should thrive. This archway, this choke point that they're coming up to right now, is one of the best areas to run a Reinhardt Diva, May Reaper kind of composition. But they have to be so careful not to go into Ans's sightline.
Source it. Okay. Gets the kill there onto Rascal. That's going to set things up nicely there for the hold. Yeah, the freeze up onto Troy Hoban catches him out of position, so it's going to be putting an end to that. Supercharger, they want to come into this.
Transcendence.
Edison's got a Death Blossom in the backline. I don't even know if they're aware of this. Blizzard and Coalescence, though, going to be forced out here from the Atlanta Reign. Shadow does not connect. Gator, okay.
Why are they going so far forwards, though, Brent? They're just getting baited in. And this is the problem. No. It wasn't a good idea, in my opinion, for the Shock to commit those ultimates. But because the Atlanta Reign smelled blood in the water, they charged forwards. And now they've overextended and they've thrown their own lives away. They were baited in, and the Shock with 30 seconds left.
Oh, the Gravitic Flux.
They need.
Gravitic Flux in close quarters will be healing them up. The accretion as well. Samurai has to come through now. Has to be big, but Rascal duplicating over to the Diva. Doesn't build up the self-destruct, but he builds up his mech quick enough, but soon taken out of it. Edison forced to use that Death Blossom just to peel away the backline, but the team is getting beamed as Rascal makes his mark. 10 seconds remaining in the time bank, but it's more than enough for them to get that full completion on Havana with 5 seconds remaining.
Oh, and what a brutal error by Atlanta Reign to overextend so much after the San Francisco Shock had used their Supercharger and their Transcendence. There was clearly an advantage in the team fight for Atlanta, but you still have to play the map. And pushing that deep, even if you're 6v5, on such an open area of Havana is always going to get punished by a double shield kind of team. There's just way too much poke for you to deal with. And you saw Gator had to go for some Hail Mary shatter around the pillar, which if it had hit, I'm not even sure they would have been able to capitalize on anyway, because that would have
I mean, everyone was too
that
spread.
would have meant they'd have to go even deeper. Yeah. So a very unfortunate and a little disappointing end to the Havana defense from the Atlanta Reign. They got value out of the Reinhardt Rush composition. It's an interesting look. Havana at the moment is one of the maps where you see the most diverse strategies. We've got the Gladiators running double sniper kind of comps, Shock running some Echo over here with their double shield. Some teams still trying to run the dive as well. And Atlanta with Rush.
All sorts of different scenes and different looks that these teams are operating with. The difficulty is, though, now, the San Francisco Shock playing a composition that they are very comfortable with. And this sight line that Ants can just make his own. It's going to be very hard, I think, for the Atlanta Reign. They can definitely work in this right building that we see on our screens and avoid a lot of the sniper line of sight. But it's a hard ask because they still need to push this payload. And look at that headshot. Hawk almost just getting his noggin taken off.
Another one.
Yeah.
In the
so
wise words
clean.
of
So consistent.
one of the musical greats.
Of course. DJ Khaled. Who could forget? The shock. Now Ans, you can see, working his way into the left side flank. But
nice
Edison is the
headshot.
one who gets the first kill. Yeah, that's a beautiful one onto Rascal, and it's setting his team up for success here. Ans just playing quite passive, quite patient. He realizes he doesn't really want to take the ego duel when Rascal's not there. Oof, does take a little quick shot here, but the shock are being steadily pushed back and back and back.
They are being pushed back, but they're just waiting for that opening pick. They have enough faith, I think, in Ants to be able to eventually deliver for them. He's getting pretty weak at the moment. He needs a bit of a heal, and slowly he's going to just go down. To Saucy in the backlines, there's no peel at all for him. Moth used the immortality field just to defend himself and Violet towards the back, but it doesn't matter because the Shock are going to be able to clean this fight up anyway. They had the advantage in terms of the pick that was generated at the beginning of that fight, and also the fact that Smurf and Choyobin were very solidly planted in that front line. And Shock once again able to reset and slow down the pace once more of the Atlanta Reign's attack. EMP though is going to be huge here from Saucy. It's a massive win condition for them. Not with Infrasight up though. Definitely got to wait that one out.
Yeah, that's going to be buying a bit of time now for the Shock. The Saucy is 2% away from it. The Infrasight fades, and that should be the go time for them to try and make something work here. You can see Saucy getting into position. Probably going to try and prioritize some of the tanks here in the backline. He cleaves off of them. You can see the Amp Matrix immediately is taken out off the back of the EMP, and the Immortality Field goes down shortly afterwards. So the Atlanta Reign making the most of it. Still the Shock want to continue pushing this one in. Gravitic Flux does a lot of damage to Hawk here, but now they're going to have the Supercharger to try and really push the Shock away from them here. Gives them the extra damage necessary. Still, Rascal in the backline has taken out Dogman. Let's see the Gravitic Flux being committed by Hawk. Nothing to cancel it means that he'll get 2 kills and still on an off angle, but it probably won't be enough. I say that. 2 kills for him. Hawk very, very low. Surely not. Surely not. Yeah.
And that, even though that was a losing fight for the San Francisco Shock and they invested ultimates into it, they forced so many out of the Atlanta Reign that that's definitely worth it. Oh, Violet going down. That is a little difficult because what I was going to say is they've reset the momentum from Atlanta. They don't have big ultimates to continue pushing through checkpoint B, and the defensive advantage of the map can now be utilized with no ultimates online. But with the pick onto Violet, that has actually allowed Atlanta to generate some more momentum, some new momentum that is not based on ultimates.
Oh, Moth just popping his head out for a wee moment, and yeah, not going to be able to survive, obviously, that one. 2 picks easily now for the Atlanta Reign, rolling this forward off the back of Edison's Infrasight. The Shock need to respect that a little bit more. Edison is a phenomenal player when he gets going. Yes, Ans might be pretty good, but Edison can also hold his own against him. Infrasight, though, from Ans will mean that the Atlanta Reign do need to respect that. You have to. Either working around the shields or some other form. And Matrix from Massa will force again the Shock away. Very slow-paced gameplay going on here. They might try and jump on a target or two, but it's difficult for Ans to get any value with the Widowmaker here. There's not many sight lines he can really take, Josh.
EMP available right now as well from Saucy, so this absolutely should be a win for the Atlanta Reign. They can't afford to lose Gator here. They need to invest ultimates. Massa takes down one. Violet's popped his trance, and Saucy still holding the EMP, but the longer you hold it, the more chance you're giving for Ants to hit shots like that. Finally, they commit it. Violet falls weak. They have found the pick on Choyobin as well. And this is surely going to be checkpoint B for the Atlanta Reign, but I was worried for them.
Yeah, Edison honestly just opened up that entire middle section of the map for them then. You think all the way back, I mean, he's just been getting the staggering picks. Time and time again, Moth usually being the recipient of the shots, which is unfortunate for him. But Atlanta Reign able to really just breeze through that middle section off the back of Edison's raw individual talent.
Yeah,
I was going to try and do it because it is a bit of a more favorable, I'd say, angle for Ons here. He can take a lot more wider angles, try and catch the Atlanta Reign off guard, but Edison's still searching for a target.
Comes out here from Choyobin. Dogman's fallen as well. Raised up in the gravitic flux, and Ants finds a second. Just taking pot shots at this point. Yep. Nobody can contest the angle. As soon as Edison goes down, there's no one to apply pressure to Ants. No one has that long-range capability. Dogman doesn't want to take the ego duels against him. That's always going to be a losing fight for the Zenyatta.
Okay. Inversight was popped there by Edison, but look at the shock. The positioning is so far forward here, they don't really want to respect it that much. The hack goes off onto Ants, but no one's going to be able to capitalize. Dogman goes down. Yeah. It might stop
a hack does not stop him shooting bullets into the head of your Zenyatta. I think that hack was intended to go into somebody else there. Maybe the Sigma. I think he was attempting to hack Choyobin so that they could try and push forward a little bit. The Atlanta Reign are essentially just waiting for another EMP here. And there's still so many ults available to shot.
Jump shot from Ants. Goes for it. Somehow hits the shot into Edison. God, what an absolute maniac to try and hit that, especially when Edison was at like a gradient slope. It's not just a simple mouse movement from left to right. You have to try and adjust your entire aim for him being on the staircase, and he still hits the shot whilst in the air. I cannot stress enough how hard that is to hit.
Yeah, that's a mental one. Also perfectly timed with the aggression coming out from the shock, so Edison would be a little distracted as well, as that supercharger went down from Smurf. He's having to think about whether Edison is, Edison's having to think himself about whether he's positioned accurately enough. Immortality Field comes out there and it just about saves the tanks and supports, but Ants finishes off Master. And this is Rascal just putting out insane damage from this duplicate form in the off angle. Another gravitic flux. And will Saucy ever get a chance to use this EMP?
He uses it now, but the reaction times comes out from Violet.
Yeah, not
instantly. Well, unable to even get the value he really wanted here. And oh my god, Ants! Stop it! Absolutely filthy. She's getting away with murder now, and it feels like the momentum of the Atlanta Reign is just withered down to almost nothing.
Yeah,
he is
been utterly quashed.
So consistent.
What I love about the shock is they're applying so much pressure to the Atlanta Reign. One of the best ways of playing against a Sombra is to turn up the tempo, put the pressure on your opponents. If Saucy can get this pick, this would actually alleviate a lot of that pressure.
Okay, Ant's got a kill though with the jump shot, and he obviously couldn't align his aim up for Saucy. Saucy backed off, doesn't have an EMP. It's a close-up gravitic flux. The card has moved so far back that the Atlanta Reign are going to be able to force the overtime here.
And Ants is back.
Yeah, Ants is back now, and he's got the Impresight working. But trying to find something. Here's the thing though, Edison very close to one of his own. Choyobin going down, a very winnable fight now for the Atlanta Reign to take this one moving forwards, if they're not careful. No shield just yet, Gator moving forward, using the map to try and work his way around. Gravitic Flux takes away a couple of the kills. The shock falling short of the mark here. Accretion doing its work. It's all on Ants to try and see if he can hit some impossible shots. He finds one, but not many players left standing. And the card is going to slowly roll in here as they do manage to cap it. And as we were on the escort map, it means that the 5 seconds that the San Francisco Shock ended up getting were really not good for much.
Yeah, that doesn't make a large difference. Both teams having excellent point C defenses that crumbled in the final moments. Atlanta, because they made a large mistake on their defense to overchase and overextend when they thought they had an advantage. But for the Shock, it wasn't so much a mistake on their defense so much as a good play by Saucy to flank around the back and to be able to kill Ants. That alleviates so much of that pressure that the San Francisco Shock were applying. No longer can their forward hold really apply that much pressure onto the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta were able to take the space, and then they had picks that they were able to find onto Choyobin once the Shock backed off and had utilized all of their ultimates.
The Shock on the defense initially, and we remember when they were first taking this initial defense, they did have to bide their time a little bit, waiting for Ants to get that initial pickoff before they got an opportunity to try and attack
definitely.
here.
I think that this is favored towards Atlanta right now. With a minute on the clock for both teams, and considering that Atlanta like to spawn camp, they are actively fighting the payload within that 1 minute. The Shock are not fighting for payload control within that 1 minute. They're going to allow a lot of free push here, just because that's the way their defensive composition works. So unless the Shock get crazy aggressive, or Atlanta completely whiff their spawn camp, Atlanta should be the favored team right now with only a minute on the clock.
The Shock, the way they're playing is that they're trying to basically pressure Hawk as much as possible, because he's the only one who can really stand up to this cart with the grasp of the shield. If they pump in the damage, he knew where Edison was. Can't find the shot though. Hunting for something. They have to back off around this corner. Atlanta's still pushing this one forward. Halted back, hands with the Discord orb. There's a lot of free push indeed, and the longer this goes without a pick, the more likely it looks like the Atlanta Reign might be running away with it. Edison with 2 shots! The back-to-back headshots. The third, Edison! What a player! Finding the opportunities, opening it up for his team. The overtime will start to tick, but the Atlanta Reign firmly able to push this cart into that initial checkpoint.
What a beautiful series of shots from Edison. That's exactly what we wanted from him. He was actually able to do pretty similar when they were attacking previously as well. Oh, finds Ants. Identified on the flank. Not going to go for that one, but they want to keep this momentum going. If Edison can find a pick, he found Violet last time when they were pushing into point B. That would be beautiful once again. Taking down Violet just as he's getting close to his Transcendence would be enormous here.
Shock don't want to
Saucy, 97% of his EMP and a tiny sliver of health.
And Matrix and the Hulk getting ate up there by the grass coming through from Choi Yobin. The Transcendence aggression comes out and Ants gets the better of his opposition. They found the pickoffs, and that will be that for the push, but what a push it was from the Atlanta Reign. This is a very winnable map now. With their rush compositions, they like to play at those spawn doors, and a minute can easily be just trickled down to absolutely nothing if they get a good hold initially.
They only need to win one fight. You know, they need to spawn camp for a while, but they can slowly lose multiple team fights as long as they take that time off the clock, and then just one crucial team fight when it's into overtime, and they'll have secured this map and drawn us 1-1 heading into the game break. It is so winnable here for the Atlanta Reign, and this is exactly where you would want to play the rush composition. As much as Atlanta Reign might have been criticized fairly in the past for running the rush comp too much on Havana, when it is quite a broad open map for many of its segments, this is the perfect opportunity. A minute and 5 seconds. This is wonderful stuff. Oh, Edison seems like he was thinking about running the Widowmaker there to challenge Ants as he goes on the flank. Remember that as good as Edison was on his attack on Widowmaker, the San Francisco Shock, all they have to do is flank Ants around the side and have him pick off a single player, and Atlanta's spawn camp will fall to pieces. It will slowly fall to pieces. It'll still tick time off the clock, but it will fall to pieces. So a lot of pressure here on Ants to actually hit these shots. Atlanta can't focus attention onto him. He will just be free here. They're just trying to play outside of his sightlines.
And right around the corner, you can see this immediately. Rascal will go down here, but Ans has a bit of space to work with. The question is, can he do anything with it? Because the first team fight is going to be a win now.
Yeah, and they're not easy shots either. Atlanta are very smart with how they're playing these line of sights. You can see Dogman just hugging the corner there. And if he falls back, he'll duck underneath the car. Just trying to deny any opportunity for Ants to hit the shot. So much respect given, and rightly so.
They have been forced to the other spawn door here. Gator taking a bunch of damage. The fire strike comes through, but his shield is close to breaking, and it does go down. 10% to the Earth Shadow. He's trying to find something. The ice wall stops him, and Ants on the flank gets taken out there by Edison. Now Choi being forced away. The Earth Shadow drops down, but no value really given. Gator goes down, pulled together. The Shock need to try and clean this up now as we're getting into the overtime scenario, because the Atlanta Reign are moments away from taking this map. Blizzard drop down, but they go through the teleporter just to avoid it. And they do get out a couple of the players, but not enough. The cart will begin to move now in the overtime.
But this is fine. They only need to win one overtime push here. And they were so good as soon as Edison had the barrier available. That Symmetra ultimate was so crucial previously because it gives them so much space for Gator to be able to just swing his hammer and play aggressively in the front lines. A Blizzard is also great at being able to deny space on the card. This should be Atlanta's to win right now.
Supercharger is cut off actually by the Symmetra barrier. The Blizzard from Saucy is there. The Sound Barrier layered on top. They have to try and get some picks. The Gravitic Flux sends them up. Gator very low, but the barrier keeps him alive. Off angles trying to be taken here. Shock surely not going to be trying to win this one out, and they seem to be falling bit by bit. Smurf on the last one standing. Troy just trying to hide behind this barrier. Will not be enough for them. As the overtime goes down, the Atlanta Reign taking map number 2 in this series.
Great performance from Atlanta there. They didn't even need all of the aggressive push that they got. They would have won anyway, just by virtue of the composition that they were playing, because of all the free push that the Shock were forced to give them. So, frankly, Atlanta won that by being able to execute on their offense. To be able to get those 3 checkpoints on Havana is difficult at the best of times, especially against a team as good with the double shield as the San Francisco Shock. But I want to give a lot of credit to Saucy, because that play towards the end of their first push on Havana, where he flanked around the back and he was able to kill Ants, relieving all of that pressure and allowing them to complete checkpoint C, that was the crucial moment to me, because without that play happening, we're looking at the San Francisco Shock being 2-0 up at the game break. As it is, we've got a very competent match on our hands.
We absolutely do, yeah. The Atlanta Reign do not want to be giving up just yet. And we're going to be heading to a game break to hear what our analysts have to say about the match thus far. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be returning with the series soon enough.